Hello students, if you are sitting for UTME or WASSCE exam this year 2026, there is a topic that consistently shows up in lessons and structure section every year, and that topic is Concord. The secret there is that the examiner will now ask you questions on the easy rules such as he eats versus they eat. That is, when the subject is singular, the verb will be singular, or when the subject is plural, the verb will be plural. No, they are looking for trap, the way to trap you in the question. For example, they will ask you questions on hidden subjects, where the subjects are hidden, or where English language tends to or seems to break its own rule. In this lesson, I'm going to show you 7 dangerous Concord rules that catch students off guard each year. And at the end of the lesson, you are going to not only know those rules, but you will be able to spot the trap at a distance. Let's get started. So the topic is Concord Rules for WASSCE and UTME students. The first rule there is the rule of proximity, the nearest neighbor rule. Now, when in a sentence where you see either or neither nor, we call them correlative conjunctions. When you see them, the verb agrees with the subject closest to it. The subject that is closest to it. For example, if I use this sentence, neither the principal nor the students, is it is or are? Is it is aware or aware? The answer should be are. Why? Because I said neither the principal nor the teachers. So the subject that is closest to the verb is or are is teachers, and so the answer should be are. But if I say it in the other way, neither the teachers nor the principal, is it going to be is or are? It is going to be is, because principal is one person, and that is the subject that is closest to the verb. That is why we call it the rule of proximity, the nearest neighbor rule. The verb that is the subject that is nearest to the verb is the one you will consider. If that subject is plural, the verb will be plural. But if it is singular, the verb will be singular. The second one is subject that is plural in form but singular in meaning. In fact, UTME often give questions on this aspect. What do we mean by that? There are some subjects that have S, but they represent singular entity or single entity. For example, statistics, physics, economics, ethics, and so on. You use singular verb for them. For example, statistics is a nightmare for many social students. You use is, even though it is statistics. Statistics is a single entity, even though data is involved or data are involved, but we take it as a single entity. Statistics is a nightmare for many students. Okay, even mathematics is not an easy subject for many students. Okay, so that is it. Then we also have the as well as along with trap. It is not only as well as along. When you have these phrases, as well as, along with, together with, in addition to, accompanied by, let me mention them again. As well as, along with, in addition to, accompanied by, together with. Once you see them, then the verb will agree with the first subject. The verb will agree with the first subject. For example, if I say something like, remember I've talked about it in Lekki Headmaster chapter 6, that says Ade as well as Jide comes or come. So I use a kind of formula that day, like when I say S1 plus as well as S2 equals to verb agrees with S1. So S1 in this question now, if I say the Lekki headmaster as well as his notorious students are expected. It can be how, because I use the S1 is the principal. So the principal as well as his notorious students is expected at the assembly ground. Is the right one. Why? This rule considers S1 as the subject. Every other one there, the verb ignores them. Every other subject, the verb will ignore it. But the first subject is the main subject there. Okay? So in that example, the Lekki headmaster as well as his notorious students is expected on the assembly. The verb there, the subject there is the Lekki headmaster. Every other ones there are just another information or extra information, but the verb there, the subject there is the principal. The same thing applies to when I say the principal along with his notorious students, or the principal together with his notorious students, or the principal in addition to his notorious students. We still use the verb is, that is singular verb, because the subject is the principal. I hope this is well understood. All right, let's go to the fourth one, indefinite pronouns. Indefinite pronouns, we call them the always singular club, because once you use them, the verb will be singular. Examples of these indefinite pronouns are each, every, everyone, someone, everything, something, and so on. Those every, they usually have their verb is always singular. Let me give you an example. Each of the students claims, remember, claims, each of the students claims to have forgotten their examination slip. Remember, the verb there, claims. It's only the verb that has S that we regard as singular verb. So remember the sentence again. Each of the students claims that they have forgotten their examination slip. Do you get it? Okay. So you can say everyone is, everything is, someone is. So they usually take singular. Okay. Then look at this UTM trick. Many. When they use many a, the verb will be singular. For example, many a student comes. Or let me use a sentence, many a student, don't put S in that student, many a student failed or has, let me use has as singular verb, many a student has failed the examination on grammatical errors. Many a student has failed. I can't say have, because when you say many a, you use singular verb. Many a student has failed the simple test on grammatical errors. Now let's go to fractions, percentages, and none. We also use singular, no, it depends on the nouns that will come after or that follows the of, because we usually use of in it. So the noun that follows the of will show whether it will be singular or plural. For example, if I say 2/3, let me use uncountable nouns now. 2/3 of the water is polluted. I use water there after of, so I can't say water are. So 2/3 of the water is polluted. Then let me also use countable noun. If I say something like 1/4 of the books, I will use are. 1/4 of the books are missing. See, what follows the of there is books. The books takes plural. That's why I say of the books are missing. Then when we use none, the verb should be singular. Like none of the students is here. You know, in casual speech, people tend to use are. None of the students are, but the correct thing is. None of the students is. Okay. Now, the next one is nominal clauses. When we have noun clause in a sentence, and the whole of the clause will take singular verb. For example, what the students need is more practicals, not more holidays. What the students need is more practicals, not more holidays. Okay, so let's take the next one. Distance, money and time, they usually take singular verb. For example, 10 kilometers is a long distance to walk. 10 kilometers is a long distance to walk. Then let's also have collective nouns. When we use collective nouns, obviously it will take is. But where we use collective noun and the members are represented individually, we don't use singular verb again. We use plural verb. Just like using the family is as singular. But if you want to make reference to individuals in the family, you can use are. Okay, I hope this is clear now. Then the next one is compound nouns. That is when we have two items forming a single unit. For example, I can say rice and beans is my favorite meal. Rice and beans is, I can say rice and beans are. Rice and beans is my favorite meal. Or bread and butter is. Do you get it? Okay, so that is what we mean by Concord rules that you will see in your WASSCE and UTME examination. Now, I'm going to give you 10 example likely questions that UTME or WASSCE may ask you, especially UTME. 10 good questions and their answers. Now, let's go to complex practice questions. UTME versus WASSCE style. Let's look at the style of their questions. The first one is neither the players nor the coach dash happy with the referee's decision. Neither the players nor the coach. Remember the rule of proximity. When you use correlative conjunctions like neither nor or either or, the verb, the subject that is closest to the verb is the one that you pick the verb for it. For example, coach here is closest to the verb we are looking for, and coach is one person, so the answer should be was. Neither the players nor the coach was happy with the referee's decision. Remember, the coach is closest, that's why we pick was. Then number 2, many a candidate dash to pass the exam without studying. Is it attempts, are attempting, have attempted? We use attempts. Why? When we use many a, we will use singular noun and singular verb. And singular noun there is candidate, and the verb should be singular. Remember, singular verb is the one that takes S. So it should be attends, that is be. The box of chocolates dash vanished from the table. Remember, the subject here is the box, not the chocolates. So since the box is the subject and it's one, we are looking for a singular verb. And a singular verb here is has. We have has, have, where, are. So the singular one is has. The box of chocolates has vanished from the table. The fourth one, the quarters of the students dash here to pay their fees. Remember, when we use distance, money, and time, we use singular verb. Okay, so here, the quarters of the students is, has, or are. Remember, when I was teaching it, I use countable and uncountable noun. When it is countable, when it's uncountable, you use singular. But when it is countable, you use plural. In fact, the verb that follows off is the noun that follows off is the one that you will take. Now, the one that follows off now is the students, and it's plural. So the answer should be plural. That is C. 3/4 of the students are yet to pay their fees. Why? This is countable and it's plural. Okay, remember, if I use water, then it will be singular because it's uncountable. I hope you get it. Countable, the one that follows if it is countable, then you look at the noun. Is it plural or singular? Then it will determine what you will choose. This is plural. That is why we have chosen A. Then number 5. The chief executive, together with his assistants, dash arriving tomorrow. Remember, the main subject here is the chief executive. Other ones are just additional information. Verb will ignore the remaining ones, but the verb will take only this first subject. So the answer should be the chief executive, together with his assistants, is arriving. That is B, is arriving. Number 6, measles dash no longer the killer it used to be. Measles, then there is dash, no longer the killer it used to be. What should be the answer? Remember when we talked about the use of subjects that S may be added to, but it represents a singular entity. The same thing applies to diseases. When S is added to that disease, but it represents a single entity, then the answer will be singular verb. So measles are where is, have, we take is. Measles is no longer the killer it used to be. Just as we say statistics is, economics is. Okay, so the answer is C, is. A number of students dash outside the hall. Okay, a number of students then dash outside the hall. Is it A, is, was, are, has been? The answer should be A. When you use a number of, it will be plural. But if you use the number of, it will be singular. So a number of students should be plural. So it should be A. But remember, I said it is the number of students, it will be is. Then number 8, bread and butter. Bread and butter dash what it is for breakfast every day. Is it are, where, is, or have been? Remember, bread and butter is a compound word. And when a compound word is used like that, we use singular verb. Remember, in the tutorial before this practice, I said rice and beans is my favorite meal. So bread and butter is what he eats for breakfast every day. Number 9, what the nation needs. Remember, what the nation needs is a nominal clause or noun clause. And I told you, when you use it, the verb will be singular. So what the nation needs, dash, a change in orientation. So is it are, is, where, have been. When it is singular, it should be is. What the nation needs is for nominal clause. Remember, you should take singular verb. Then number 10, every boy and girl dash expected to participate in the drill. Remember, every, once you use every, the verb should be singular. In fact, it's always singular, like I told you in the last tutorial. So, says, every boy and girl dash expected to participate in the drill. Is, are, is, where, have been. The answer is, which is B. So, please, if you have enjoyed this, I would like you to subscribe and then make your comments. You are free to comment on it. Please also click like and share to your friends so that they too will know this and be able to pass the coming examination, both WASSCE and UTME. Please do that. Thank you.